I'm sitting here in my late aunt's huge house, trying to make sense of the crazy events of the day before. The funeral was a blur, but one scene is deeply etched in my memory: estranged parents smiling and claiming their rights as the will was read. But as soon as my lawyer stepped into the notary's office, his face turned aghast. I'll tell you everything in order, starting with the exact day 10 years ago when my life changed completely. My name is Daria, but everyone just calls me Dasha. I'm 18, and at the age of 8 I lived in Volgograd with my parents and 2 older brothers. And then I turned 14, Kirill 15. And I must say, for my parents the sun only rose and set around the boys. My parents would just drive them to football training, buy them expensive uniforms and shoes, and be with them at all the matches. The family schedule for the boys was up to the minute. Section in the morning, training in the evening. Weekend games, training camps, tournaments. It's not that my parents completely ignored me. They fed me regularly, took me to school, bought me clothes when I needed them. But I was like wallpaper to them. It seemed to be there, but not noticed. While they were screaming in the stadium, supporting Jaeger, or hiring tutors for Kirill Kog, I was in my little room with a book or staring at the TV. It was only on one July night that I realized how bad it was. It was impossible to sleep. The humidity was hellish. The Volgograd heat was in full swing. I went into the kitchen to get water and heard my parents whispering in the living room. "Misha, we can't go on like this." Mother's voice was on the verge of hysteria. "Debt is killing us, and with your job it's getting even worse." "I know, Luda, I know." Father was clearly upset. 3 children. It's just too much to bear. We can barely attend the boys' sports training camps. And I wouldn't even talk about a university for the 3 of them. "And what do you suggest?" asked Father. "Well, your sister Rita has a house near Krasnodar. After the divorce, she lives alone in her huge house. Whenever she calls, she asks about the children." I hid in the hallway, trying to understand what they wanted to say. Yes, we lived simply compared to many of our classmates, but I didn't think we were going through any hard times that I never saw Aunt Rita. My father rarely spoke about her, only that she lived far away and worked as a financial director in an office. That night, I went back to the room and ignored what I had heard. At the age of 8, you don't pay much attention to adults' conversations about money. A month later, the school year ended. I was happy, thinking that maybe at least in the summer we would go somewhere with the family. Yeah, right. My parents announced that we were going to Krasnodar Krai to visit my dad's sister. We drove for a long time on the M4. My brother stayed at home. He had a sports training camp. You can't leave him. And I sat in the back seat, listening to my parents arguing in low voices and thinking, come on, at least I'll see new places. And that mysterious aunt too. When we arrived at the cottage village of Yezny Sadi, I was stunned. Teodian's mansion looked like a TV series about a beautiful life, a snow-white facade with pillars, a beautiful lawn, and so on. A tall woman with black hair tied in a tight bun came out of the house. White blouse, dark trousers, as if she had just run away from a board meeting. "So this is Dasha." Aunt Rita looked at me with the piercing gaze of her blue eyes, then suddenly smiled, and her face immediately warmed up. "Hello, dear. I have been wanting to meet you for a long time." There was some sincerity in her voice, or something else. Not any ordinary courtesy, but as if she really saw me. Not like background noise, but like a human being. We went inside the house. It was even colder inside than outside. My aunt was putting cold fruit drinks on the table, the elders were talking about themselves, and I was looking at the paintings and furniture, which seemed to radiate wealth. An hour later, Dad got up. "Well, it's time for us to leave. The way is long." I jumped up after him. "Okay, now I'll get my things." My parents started looking at each other strangely. "Indeed, my dear," Mother suddenly spoke in a sweet voice. "Now you will stay with Aunt Rita. Will it be for a long time?" I felt a little strange. I saw that Father was looking somewhere else, stealing glances. "You will like it here. Aunt has a digital TV. And there is also a big plot with a swimming pool." Fear crept into my throat. "But when will you come back?"
"Soon."
Mother kissed me on the head. "We'll call." They quickly hugged each other and ran outside. I ran after them.
"Wait." When so soon?
And school starts on September 1st. We'll figure it out, Dad shouted, already getting into the car. Listen to Aunt Rita. And they left. I stood on the porch, watching their Priora turn and drive away, and I couldn't understand what was going on. Aunt put her hand on my shoulder. Come on, Dashenka, I'll show you your room. The room turned out to be 3 times larger than mine in Volgograd, with a canopy over the bed, its own bathroom and windows overlooking the pool area. Under other circumstances, I would have screamed with delight. Beautiful, I said. I'm glad you liked it. Tomorrow we'll go shopping, arrange everything the way we want. The first week passed like a fairy tale. Aunt picked me up from Gulia, took me to shopping centers, to the movies, taught me how to use her luxurious laptop. And most importantly, she listened to me attentively. She listened really carefully when I talked about school, friends, books, asked questions, remembered little things. It was a new experience for me, but with each passing day the homesickness grew stronger. Although my parents did not pay attention to me, they were still mine. And my brother was an idiot, but he was the idiot of the family. Aunt Rita, Mom and Dad didn't call. Not yet, my dear. But they will call, you see. But they never called. Not in a week, not in 2, not in a month. In early August, I was very worried. Aunt Reed, I have to go home. School is starting soon. She put down her coffee cup and looked me in the eyes. Dasha, we have to talk seriously. Will Mom and Dad come soon? I asked, although deep inside, I already knew the answer. Aunt sighed deeply. No, Dashenka, they won't come. Your parents. They have decided that they can no longer take care of you. They have officially renounced their parental rights. I have completed the adoption formalities through the court. Now, legally, I am your mother, and you will always live here with me. These words were as if passing through cotton wool. I expected her to laugh, as if she were joking. But my aunt sat with a sad, determined face. And then I broke down. I cried so much I thought I would choke. These were not just tears of resentment, they were tears of the world being torn apart. Yes, my parents did not pamper me, but they had to remain my parents. They had to. And Jaeger and Kirill? I said through sobs. Were they abandoned too?
No, darling.
My brothers stayed with their parents. That was the final blow. They abandoned the boys, but not me. I was superfluous, unnecessary, like a damaged object. I cried for 3 days straight. Aunt Rita was a saint. She brought me trays of food, handed me packs of napkins, and sat by my side when everything became unbearable. She did not try to comfort me, as if everything would be all right or that what she did was for their own good. They just let me cry. On the 4th day, I woke up very calm. I just lay there, looked at the ceiling and thought, so Dasha, you have 2 choices. Either you will wait all your life for the weather to change, hoping that those who don't need you will improve, or you will try to start a new life with someone who really wants you. At breakfast I said, Aunt, I don't want to think about them anymore. If they don't care, it's okay. This is how my real life began. My aunt enrolled me in a local school, which turned out to be much better than the one in Volgograd. The classes were smaller, the teachers were more attentive. I made friends with Lyra. The girl lived 2 houses away from us. Aunt Rita was the complete opposite of my parents. Every day she asked how school was going, and she listened carefully to the answers. She helped me finish my homework, explained to me things I didn't understand. She went to all my speeches and parent-teacher meetings. She bought books on a whim because she saw that I liked to read. She had a great job. She was the CFO of VOO Yuzhny Agro Holding, a serious company. Sometimes she would tell me what she did. She understood money, how God taught me to save and plan expenses. The years flew by. I was a great student, played on the school soccer team, and took piano lessons. My aunt and I had our own traditions. We cooked together. We watched old movies on weekends. She told me stories about her. Not about Dad's childhood, but not a word about my grown-up brother Misha. When I turned 14, my aunt surprised me with the question, Dash, maybe you want to meet your parents and brothers? I can handle everything. I thought, not even 10 seconds. They have not called or written for 6 years. Why would I want to meet them?
People change.
Maybe they regret their decision? If they did, they would have got in touch long ago. 6 years. Aunt Reed. They didn't even send me a birthday card. They nodded correctly, but I wanted you to know that the doors are open. We never spoke about it again. Life with my aunt was great. She was strict. No slacking off in studies was allowed. She always helped with the housework. But she was very fair and genuinely caring. When I turned 16, everything went awry. My aunt suddenly started to get tired, melting before my eyes. At first, she blamed work, but the examination revealed something terrible. Cancer. I remember the evening when she came back. Hospital. She sat me down on the same sofa where she told me the truth about my parents 8 years ago. Dasha, I have bad news. Cancer, and quite aggressive. The world has collapsed again. Will you die? I don't know, my dear, but I will fight to the end. I will quit my job and focus on treatment. And the money? Home. Don't worry. I have decent savings. Plus, the voluntary health insurance from work would cover the cost of treatment. We would manage. The next 2 years were hell. Chemotherapy and radiation at the regional cancer dispensary. My aunt would regain consciousness, then she would collapse again. I learned to cook like an adult, run the house. As soon as I got my license, I took her to procedures. When I turned 17, the cancer was cured. We both sighed with relief. Did we really win? But by my 18th birthday, it came back with double strength. We celebrated the birthday together at home. My aunt was too weak to go out, but she baked a cake and gave me grandma's necklace. I am proud of you, Dashenka. You have become stronger, smarter, and kinder. I know you will succeed. 2 months later, I received my certificate. My aunt was in the hospital. I couldn't come to graduation. Mom Lyra recorded everything on her phone. We made video calls on WhatsApp. My aunt cried with joy, seeing me going to get the certificate. A month later, she passed away. I was next to her in the ward. She just fell asleep and never woke up again. 53 years old. Is that old? After my aunt passed away, I was hanging in a void. 18 years old. A huge house and no idea what was going to happen next. Olga Stepanovna, my aunt's college friend, came to help. She organized the funeral, called all her friends. You have to inform your father, she said. He's Rita's brother. Will you call or should I? You call. I hadn't spoken to him for 10 years. She turned on the speakerphone. After a few beeps, her father picked up the phone. Hello, Mikhail? I'm Olga Kozlova, your sister's friend. I'm calling with a sad news. Margarita died yesterday.
Wait.
Oh, I get it. The funeral is on Saturday at 2 p.m. in the Church of the Nativity of the Virgin Mary in Krasnodar. I can send you the address in a message. Saturday. It's not going well. My eldest son is getting a promotion. We are planning a big holiday. Relatives are coming. I kept staring at the phone. Olga Stepanovna was also stunned. Excuse me, did you just say that you won't come to your sister's funeral because of the party?
It's not just a party.
For Kirill, this is an important event. He worked very hard for this promotion. We planned everything for weeks. Margarita will understand. Family is above all. Olga Stepanovna's voice became rough. Is Rita your family too? Yes, of course. But she left. And we have to think about living. Especially since Dasha is there. She has grown up and will do everything right. Olga Stepanovna hung up. Sorry, dear, she said, looking at me. I'm not surprised. What else could you expect from them? The funeral was dignified. About 50 people came, colleagues, friends, church members. Olga Stepanovna gave a wonderful speech. I also spoke, barely holding back tears. For 2 days after the funeral, I sat in an empty house, trying to think of whether to sell it to the university. My aunt and I talked about studying, but we didn't get to the point. On the 3rd day, the notary called. The formal reading of the will was scheduled. I collected the documents and went to him. I expected to just see him and the usual formal procedure. But when I opened the door, everything inside me went cold. My parents and brother were in the office, as if nothing had happened, with smiles and carefree looks. Hello, Dashenka. Mom ran up to hug me. I stepped back. What are you doing here? Dad sank into the front chair, as if he were at home. We came to visit you. Of course. We are sorry for your loss. The brothers sat next to each other, looking at the walls of diplomas and the cupboards with folders, like appraisers at an auction. Wow, this is impressive, Kirill said softly, patting the table. It's all very rich man-like. We've come to keep you company. Mother sat down on the visitor's sofa, as if she were back in the drawing room. You can't be alone at a time like this. I stood in the doorway. And where were you 3 days ago? At the funeral? Oh, Dashel. Mother evaded the question. But, Kirill had a ceremony. Everything was paid for in advance. The family has come. We can't cancel it. The main thing is that we are here now. We want to take care of you. For the first time since my aunt died, I laughed. Take care of yourself. Really? Where have you been for the last 10 years? That's another matter. She hesitated. You lived with Rita. She took care of you, and now she's gone. You need a real family. She was my real family. Igor said. Well, enough of emotions. We understand why we gathered. After all, you inherited everything. Your parents are worried whether you will be able to handle such a great responsibility alone. And what responsibility? Kirill smiled. Come on, Dashel. It's not just about the house, it's also about the bills. Millions. Not toys for an 18-year-old girl. Father nodded seriously. As Margarita's brother, I am her direct heir. I think it's fair to get at least half. She left me everything. By will. There is a dispute going on, Dad said coldly. And you, child, are not ready for money. That is why we have come. Mom nodded. We are your legal representatives. We will help you manage the inheritance properly. His eyes were shining with greed, although his words seemed full of affection. Get out, I said softly. Right away. Dasha, don't be stupid. Mom jumped up. We're not going anywhere. You need us. I clenched my fists. I can't handle this alone. I remembered the business card of the lawyer Andrei Sergeyevich Lukyanov. He had given it to me at the funeral and said, if there is any trouble, call me immediately. I dialed the number. She answered on the second ring. Andrei Sergeyevich, this is Dasha. My parents are pressuring me at the notary. I'm coming, she said briefly. Don't sign anything. Don't agree to anything. I exhaled. I'm waiting. We were sitting in the notary's office. The family was nibbling candies from someone else's vase, as if they were visiting good people, not an official ceremony. The door opened. Andrei Sergeyevich, a tall, gray-haired man of about 50, came in, greeted the notary, and put his briefcase on the table. Good afternoon, Andrei Lukyanov. Representing the interests of the late Margarita Pavlovna and her heiress Daria. We are not guests. The father jumped up. I am Mikhail Sidorov, Margarita's brother. We, Daria's parents, and her legal representatives. Legal representatives? The lawyer frowned. On what grounds? Mother immediately intervened. Dasha is only 18 years old. She is still a child. It is our duty to help her manage the inheritance. The lawyer laughed. Firstly, in Russia a person becomes fully capable only at the age of 18. Daria is an adult. Secondly, 10 years ago you were deprived of parental rights. By court order, Daria was adopted by Margarita Pavlovna. Legally, you are nothing to her. Igor was confused. But she is our sister. Biologically, yes, the lawyer answered calmly. Legally, no. Kirill blushed. And the inheritance? Her father is a late brother. The notary took out a folder, corrected his glasses, and read. The will was drawn up in accordance with all the rules. All property, houses, accounts, securities, totaling about 200 million rubles, were transferred to Daria's name. Silence fell. Relatives were stunned. This is unfair, father screamed. I am her brother. Family should support family. I spoke for the first time. Family should support family. Where were you when my aunt was dying of cancer? Where were you when I dragged her to hospitals and held her hand? We did not know. Mother grumbled. We did not know because no one called in 10 years. You had time to be with your family. You decided not to be together. The notary stated the whole matter coldly. According to the law and the will, Daria is the only heir. The others have no legal basis to claim. The lawyer said coldly, "If you follow Daria, we will file a case for intrusion into her privacy and an attempt to exert pressure. My advice is not to make the situation worse." Silence fell in the office. The pale relatives left, slamming the door loudly. I looked out the window to see their car leaving the courtyard. Maybe back to Volgograd to think about Plan B. "Thank you," I said to Andrei Sergeyevich. "You're welcome, but I'm afraid this is not the end. When it comes to money, people go crazy." He was right. The next month turned into a nightmare. They called constantly from different numbers. Apparently, they bought SIM cards in large quantities, left voicemails, wrote messages. Igor complained that he wanted to get married, but could not buy an apartment. Kirill told her about a great business project. There was just a lack of investment. My mother cried on the phone, regretting that she had made a mistake by giving it to me. I kept everything. The lawyer ordered me to do so. A month later, they gathered enough evidence and sent them an official claim. Demanded to stop pursuing, threatened to sue, and banned all contacts. It worked. The calls stopped. Silence. Now I study at the Department of Economics at KUPSU. Just like Aunt Rita. I live in her house, now in my own house. I hardly touch the inheritance, only for tuition and current expenses. Aunt has learned to manage money, not wanting to waste what she left. Sometimes people ask if my conscience bothers me that I did not share with my blood relatives. No, it is not. They already made their decision 10 years ago when they decided that I was superfluous. My aunt made her decision, kept me in her house, loved me, gave me a real home. I think about her every day. She showed me, family is not blood relations. Family is who chooses to love and be close to you in difficult situations. She was my real family, and I am studying well. Life is getting better. I made friends. I am dating a guy, Daniel, who will become an engineer in the future. I told him the whole story. He thinks I did the right thing. That's enough for me. And at Aunt Rita's house, old films are still shown on weekends. Only now I watch them alone. But every time I find myself thinking, she's nearby. I think my aunt would have been proud of me. Thanks for watching. Share your thoughts about the story you heard. Write where you're listening to us from. It would be interesting to get to know our audience better.